Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Urban Entrepreneur Show. I'm Anna Banks, your host. And today we are diving into the world of global leadership and the art of mastering connections beyond our borders. Our guest is a true expert in this arena. Mark Hemingway, the president of the Encourage team, and also an executive director of Maxwell Leadership. Now, Mark has traveled to Southeast Asia over 30 times, speaking in 9 countries and impacting countless lives with his dynamic leadership training as well as his positive attitude and influence. In this episode titled Global Connections, Mastering Leadership Beyond Borders, Mark is going to share some invaluable insights on how to effectively lead and connect in a diverse cultural environment. Now, whether you are an entrepreneur looking to expand your influence globally, or you are a leader seeking to make a deeper impact where you are, this conversation will provide some actionable strategies as well as inspiration. So, with that, I just want to welcome to the Urban Entrepreneur Show my friend, Mark Hemingway.
Thank you, Anna. I'm so excited to be here with you and everyone today.
Well, I am too. You know, I have to tell the story of how we met. We were in Cambodia this past May, and we were both staying at this great hotel. And we almost came down for breakfast almost at the same time. And we got a chance just to talk about some of his experiences with Cambodia, the things that he loves about that country, and as well as Vietnam. And I was just always just kind of like starstruck, because here it was, a person from Texas, from the US, that had such passion for the people in Southeast Asia. And I have to tell you, Mark, it has truly transferred over here.
Oh, great. I'm so happy to hear that. Who knows when we'll be back there together again?
I hope it's sometime soon, but I know that, you're over there quite frequently, whether in person or over a virtual environment, just always making a difference.
Thank you.
So, Mark, I've already told people that you traveled to Southeast Asia over 30 times. 30 times. That's a lot. And you've spoken in 9 different countries. Wow. So, what are some of the key cultural considerations that you've learned that has helped you effectively communicate and connect with diverse audiences?
Well, I think one of the big things is to be flexible. That's kind of has to be my middle name when I'm in these other countries. And the other thing that's really helpful is before I go, I have had the opportunity to talk to people who have been there before or who live there that have given me some guidance on things about the countries, like things to avoid doing, things that are good to do. And quite frankly, I was talking to my wife earlier today, and I was saying, there are certain things that when we travel to other countries, there's certain things that we eat that we wouldn't necessarily order off the menu in America. But
That's true.
those are their cultural foods. They're proud of them. And that's part of empathizing with them, is to eat their food. Before I started traveling to Southeast Asia, I couldn't eat with chopsticks at all. Now, a couple of years ago, I was sitting at a restaurant eating with a couple of Vietnamese friends, and this one Vietnamese guy says, "You do better with chopsticks than I do." So I think those are things that help. When it comes to speaking to different audiences, I try to find out what their needs are and what they want, not just what I might want to do or think that is good. And so, just to give you an example, this weekend I'm speaking to. Believe it or not, there's 7 Cambodian churches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Because of a relationship in Cambodia, they've asked me to speak for 5 hours over 2 days.
Wow.
this weekend. So when I asked them, I said, "Well, what?" They said, "We want you to speak about leadership." And I said, "Well, what specifically about leadership do your people need for me to talk about?"
Yes.
And they said, "Well, you can just talk about anything you want to." And I thought, that's really the last thing that I want to do, because I want to meet their needs. So what I did to help me understand better was I went to actually visit a couple of their churches. And so that, to get familiar with the people, talk to the people, and then I was on a Zoom meeting with some of the leaders of the organization the other day, and that gave me a sense. Then it wasn't until I did that finally it gives me a sense. Okay, this is what these people need for me to talk about. Then another thing that I would just tell you, Anna, is that there's no substitute for being friendly, and to smile. And the first thing that I learned, the first word that I learned when I traveled to these other countries, is how to say thank you in their language. In Cambodia, it's arkun. In Vietnam, it's kam an. And in Panama, it's gracias.
Gracias.
So those are really important. Then when I speak to these groups, I do something that this friend of mine in Cambodia, he was the 2019 Toastmasters Speaker of the Year for the country.
Wow.
After he heard me speak, he told me, he says, "Mark, you break the rules." And I said, "Well, what do you mean I break the rules?" And he said, "Well, at Toastmasters, they teach us that you have 10 seconds from the time you stand up to start speaking. You have 10 seconds to win the crowd over." He said, "What you did," and I spoke to a group of about 600 university students one day while I was there. And so when I got there, they ushered me and the 3 or 4 other speakers into this, what they called the green room, to sit and wait until it's time to speak. And it was like 45 minutes to an hour before it started. And so I thought, I don't want to sit here in the green room and do nothing. I want to get out there and greet the people. So what I did is I went out by the entrance. As the students were coming in, I was greeting them, saying, "Oh, I'm really excited to be here with you today. Thank you for coming," and those sorts of things. And so the guy told me, he says, "You break the rules. Before you stood up to speak, they were already your friends." So that, I think, just kind of being willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, to put ourselves out there, that makes a difference to people.
You are absolutely right. I think that works anywhere, but
Yeah.
I definitely found that to be the case while I was in Cambodia. So, and it seems to be that Cambodians, and I would imagine the Vietnamese, and I met a group that came in to a meeting that we attended in Florida. They were also just, from okay, wait a minute, I'm having a moment. From what was the new country?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Oh, forgive me. Yes, I mean, just friendly, very relational. And I have to tell you, like, I live in the New York area, that's That is always so heartwarming for me.
Yeah.
Having people that, really just want to get to know you. And
Well,
yes,
they appreciate, especially the purpose that you and I were there. They appreciate because they don't have the resources readily available like we do in America. So
yeah.
when you step out, go make that extra effort to add value to them, they're deeply appreciative. I can't, I try to buy people's meals in Cambodia. I can't do it. They always buy my meal. Same in Vietnam.
Wow, that's amazing. So your work with the Encourage team, it emphasizes leadership development across various sectors, from small orphanages to large business conferences. So, how do you tailor your leadership training to meet the unique needs of these different groups, especially cross culturally?
Well, it's a matter of getting to know them and again tuning into what they need.
Yeah.
Uh, Fortunately, like you said, I've been to Vietnam and Cambodia many times, and so when I am introduced to there's a small orphanage in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. It actually was founded by some people in Texas. I and a friend from the John Maxwell team that introduced me to them, and before I even met them, then they told me about this small orphanage. So I went and I met with the people there, and they really had very little, and so I offered to do some leadership training for them, and I started out very simply. Then this past week, last week, actually, our friend Tan Nguyen and I, we did a Zoom webinar for about 100 people in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, that were part of an HR group. Most of them were HR executives from different companies and things like that. And so what we did is they wanted for us to talk about leadership, talk to us about leadership. So again, we said, okay, well, what do you want us to talk about? So because of a relationship we already had with one of those people, what they did is they polled their membership and they said, what do you want these people from America are leadership experts? What do you want them to speak to us about? And so that's exactly what we did. And I think one of the things that it takes time to cultivate and build the trusting relationships.
Yes.
When I first went to Vietnam was in 2008, and what we were doing, what we originally went to do, this was with another organization called Southeast Asia Healthcare Partners, and what we went to do was to help improve care for the elderly and orphans, and it was started at a government operated facility. Well, because it was a government operated facility, we had to go and meet with the government agency. And when we met with when our team, which was a physical therapist, quality improvement specialist, a registered nurse, and a man who supervised retirement centers in America, when we went and met with them at the government agency, they were cordial but cool. And after the meeting was over, our interpreter told us, he said, well, you have to understand, they have people come here and tell them all the great things they're going to do, and then they never see them again.
Yeah.
So for the next 6 years, every time we went to Hanoi, we met with that government agency. And it went from being cordial and cool to by the sixth meeting, we were meeting with friends. We were talking to each other about our families and things like that. Then after that meeting, our interpreter said, they like what you're doing. They know you'll be back. Now you're free to do whatever you want. But and so that took a while to cultivate that relationship with the people. And then the other thing, one other kind of a side note that is kind of amusing, the executive director of that government operated facility, he also, we recognized about, I think maybe this was the third or fourth year in, after we'd done a lot of training, we had provided some other resources for them to help improve their bathrooms and showers and things like that. After we were there visiting with him. We went one morning, about 11 o'clock in the morning. He leaves his office and he just for a minute, and he walks back in. He's carrying a 6-pack of beer, and this is 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my goodness!
And so, and I'm not really a drinker. But he says, it's our custom in Vietnam that when friends who haven't seen each other for a long time get together, it's customary that we drink beer together. And I thought, this guy has just called me his friend.
That's right.
I'm going to drink a beer with him at 11 o'clock this morning. So that's part of the flexibility that I'm talking about. Now, I wouldn't do anything that would violate my morals, but that was just a message from him that we are friends now. And so
that's
I think
so good.
And so then I think the other thing that people can sense is they sense your motives.
Yeah.
So if you're there to take advantage or exploit, they can sense that. Yes. But I was so touched one time that I was speaking in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam at a conference, and afterwards a CEO of a company came to me and he said, "Mark, I've never seen a Caucasian that connects with the Vietnamese people like you do." And I was really touched by that and honored. And then I started reflecting. I thought, how is it, or why is that? I don't speak Vietnamese. I've never lived in Vietnam. I don't have a Vietnamese wife or girlfriend. And so why is it what's the connection? And then I thought to myself, I love the Vietnamese people. And that love is what comes through regardless of the language and cultural barriers. So I think it's important that if we love people and we have this attitude of adding value to them, and we appreciate the other thing, and this, Anna, just from your trip to Cambodia, sometimes we think we go to inspire, and those people end up inspiring us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are so right with that. I looked forward to coming to breakfast every morning, not only because you would be sitting over by the window and whatnot, but the servers there, oh my goodness, like as soon as they would see me step off the elevator, they asked me one time what I wanted to drink, and it was green tea.
Yeah.
Every morning when I stepped off the elevator, they said, "Green tea, ma'am?"
Isn't that amazing?
It's just, like, I mean, you can get that when you go to your favorite restaurant, like I had a diner that I used to go to, but this was an entirely different culture in a different country. And it was just so beautiful. I one of the things that I did was I took pictures of the young lady that was always took care of me for breakfast and the guy that always made my soup.
That's
because
great.
I became a breakfast soup person.
Yeah.
So you're right. I fell in love with the Cambodian people.
Yeah,
I sure did. So we're really talking about like building connections, and you've already demonstrated and you've just shared with us how important it is for building strong connections, especially even as a leader, but particularly when we're in unfamiliar environments. So what strategies have you found to be most effective in establishing trust and lasting relationships with leaders, especially in the communities in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I think there a couple of things that really have made a difference. One is for me, it's made a difference that people know I'll be back. You know, and the other thing is to realize that I can't do this by myself. You know, many times it's like at least half the time in both of those countries, I'm speaking with an interpreter. Without that interpreter, Mark Hemingway is nobody. and so understanding that I need other people to help me. It's a, you know, it's a team. It's not just me. Like when we started going to Vietnam and doing the things that the training in the nursing home or the elderly facility with the people. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a physical therapist. I can't really do the training. So it's these people that join up with me to do these things. One of the nurses, for example, what she did. Her name is Susan Laplace, and Susan, we were doing some training at a convent, and with a Catholic convent, that their mission as a convent was to take care of elderly people. And they had a heart to do that, but they had no training to do it. And so Susan Laplace and Jolianne Bean, another RN, made an initial trip, did some training there, and then on a follow-up trip, Susan not only went there, she stayed in the convent. She spent the night in the convent on a bed with no mattress. She had to walk outside to go to the bathroom or take a shower. And she ate the meal, the same food, everything they did. She immersed herself and lived with them. At the end of 3 days, Anna, when she got ready to leave, they told her, "You are one of us." And so I think that's it's eating what they eat, doing and being willing to do things that, like I said, we might not order those things off of the menu if we're in America, but being willing to do that there. I think another thing is that what's really been helpful to me is just another quick story. The very first time we went to Vietnam, we thought, let's drop by the American Embassy and say hi. And then we find out, you just don't drop in on American embassies. There's people out there with guns to keep you from just dropping in. And so then after I became certified as a John Maxwell speaker, trainer, coach, I had a Vietnamese friend who had a relationship with the U.S. Embassy in Vietnam. And she said, they're at the U.S. Embassy, they're studying this book. I think it was Intentional Living. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, how are they doing that? And she said, well, just somebody at the embassy has read the book and thought it would be good to share with people. And I said, well, why don't you tell the people at the embassy that a certified Maxwell Leadership Team member that has licensure to teach John Maxwell's resources. Yeah. And so she did that. And so I went and met with them and started, and that opened the door for me to what they do. The embassy, they invite Vietnamese people to come in, listen to me do leadership development training for Vietnamese people. And so then once I do it there a couple of times, they tell the people at the U.S. consulate in Ho Chi Minh City about me. Then after I do it at the U.S. consulate a couple of times, they tell the people at the Cambodian embassy about me. And so that opens the door for me to speak to all of these people. And then I don't know who's going to be in the room. As an example, one of the people that attended was affiliated with one of the leading universities in Ho Chi Minh City one time.
Wow.
And so I didn't know that. And several weeks later, I get contacted by, she reaches out to me and she says, I attended the session that you did at for the U.S. consulate. Would you be willing to come speak to students at our university? And I'm pinching myself. I'm thinking, would I be willing to? I would love to. And it turns out they have campuses in both Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. I've been to both of those campuses multiple times. Then another friend who attended one of those sessions and who became a friend, her best friend's husband is the president of the largest private university in Vietnam.
Oh my.
So she introduced me to him. And then I go and speak to the students at his university. Then as you know, then in Cambodia, people from Panesastra University, one of the leaders of that university is now a John Maxwell Leadership Team member. I met them when he first came to Orlando to get certified. Now I'm on the advisory board of the Executive Leadership Institute of that university, and that's opened up doors for me. On one trip, I was able to speak to students from 45 different universities in Cambodia. So I think one of those things is there. So there's a couple of things that enter into this. One is you have to add value to the people. You have to give them something that they value. Then when you do that in a way that does add value to them, then they tell their friends. And so it's really like it's a matter of continuing. I have people ask me all the time. For like this morning, I get a Facebook Messenger message from this lady. She's a dentist in Cambodia, and she says we're trying to build our business and grow our business to expand. Can you give us some ideas? And so I said, well, it's late in Cambodia. It was like 11:15 at night. She says, well, I don't go to bed until midnight. so we for the solid 45 minutes, I said, okay, well, tell me about your staff at your office, this and that and that. So what's happened is because of to me, all of this is about relationships. And without the relationships, without these relationships, we're nothing. But we have to earn the trusting relationship.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to lose a relationship than it is to gain it. And so one of the things that for the first 5 years or 5 or 6 years that I went to Southeast Asia, I was not a John Maxwell team member.
Right.
And so I began to realize that, every time I come to Southeast Asia, somebody asks me to speak. Maybe I should become a better speaker. So that's what got me into the John Maxwell Leadership Team. And then I've become a better speaker now, but it's more than that. It's helped me to grow as a person. And then, like John says, we should be rivers, not reservoirs. And so that flows to us. We have we want to share with others. Then all these other countries have Maxwell Leadership Team members. Many don't. They don't have very many yet, but they have some. And so when the first time I went to Cambodia, I reached out on our website to find out, are there any Maxwell team members there? So it turns out that I was lucky to meet the very first Maxwell Leadership Team member in Cambodia. And when I reached out to him, he said, well, when you come to Cambodia, I will pick you up at the airport. It's like you said, these people are so kind and gracious to us.
They're kind and gracious. Oh my goodness.
I've never
met a group of people so kind and gracious.
I've never been able to buy that guy's lunch. Now, one thing I was able to do, I was able to take him to a place and give him his first apple pie a la mode. So that's one thing I was able to do with him. But I think so. It's a matter of we are giving on the one hand to add value, but these people add so much value to us as well. It's like I tell my wife, I said, you know, these people embrace and they celebrate when I come. They are hungry for the things that we have to offer. So how can we say no to that?
Right.
I'm a popular speaker in universities in Vietnam and Cambodia. I never speak to universities in America.
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, even for myself in that short time, because I was there about 2 weeks, I actually got a chance to teach at a company while I was there. And it was like, this is like so amazing. Usually you have to jump through hoops and everything to get into to get into actually speak to companies. But that was not the case over there. So you just have, first of all, you have the same type of disposition and appreciation for people that they can't help but reciprocate to you, Mark. I have to say that, I mean, just spending that time, with you, because I hadn't met you before either.
That's right.
But you've been, like so open and so willing to share your experiences until it's like, why can't we all just do that? It really has me asking that question a lot. So not only are you a leadership guru in Southeast Asia, but you're also an author. So I hear that in your book, Unlock Your Success, which has been translated into both Vietnamese and Khmer, you discuss the importance of positive influence. So how can urban entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs everywhere apply those principles of positive influence to expand their own impact in their own local communities?
Yeah. Let's talk about that positive influence for just a minute. I had a friend years ago that challenged me to write a personal mission statement.
Okay.
And so I wrote this personal mission statement. Universities have almost every business you can think of has a mission statement. Churches, universities, all organizations. My wife is a member of an organization that she went, and the leader of the organization said that she was at a meeting on Saturday, and they said, "Who can tell us the mission statement of our organization?" Nobody could. And because they're generally flowery, wordy, and paragraphs long. And so that's the way my mission statement was when I wrote it. And I started thinking, this is really nice, but it's going to be hard for me to remember this and let alone explain it to other people.
Yes.
And a couple of days later, I saw this truck going down the highway, and it said, "Save money, live better." Only 4 words.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, I could remember 4 words. then I was watching television one night, and a Southwest Airlines commercial said, "Low fares," and I thought, wow, 2 words. But what that planted was the seed in my mind that what I need is a life slogan that backs up this mission statement. And so that's my life slogan is positive influence. And so that's my filter for everything. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to go somewhere, how do I be a positive influence there? If
Mhm.
I'm meeting with someone, how do I be a positive influence? Actually, when you invited me to do this, I think, okay, is this an opportunity to be a positive influence? If the answer is yes, I do it. If the answer is no, you have someone else here today instead of me.
I'm glad you saw it as a positive influence.
So I think so, but I think here's what happens is when you have and I have a lot of people have dreams, and I have this big dream that I didn't share with people for a long time.
Mhm.
And because I thought, wow, if I share my big dream, people will think, there's no way you can do that. You're crazy. You can't do it. And so, but then I realized I can't achieve this big dream by myself. I
Yes.
need other people to help me. And so here's what happened. And this book the translations of these books are a great example of this. So I started sharing my big dream. I just share it with you right now. And my big dream is to be a positive influence to 10 million people. And to me, that was a big stretch. So, but I started sharing that with people I thought would encourage me, that
Mhm.
wouldn't be the naysayers and
Right.
tell me I was crazy. So I started sharing that with a few people. And one of the first people I shared it to was this guy, and he said, "Why only 10 million, Mark? Why
Wow.
not? Why not?" He said, "Why not 100 million?" And I'm thinking, I think I'm stretching myself to say 10 million. You're saying 100 million. But here's what happened. That's so it's almost like magic, Anna. When I started sharing this with other people, Vietnamese friend said, "Mark, would you like for me to translate your book into Vietnamese?"
Wow.
It cost me nothing. I wouldn't be able to reach those people that can't read English without my Cambodian, the first Maxwell Leadership Team member in the country of Cambodia, which I always admire, that to be the first person in the
Yeah.
country to do something. So he read my book and he said, "Mark, would you like for me to translate this into Khmer?" And I said, "Yeah." It cost me nothing. Now there's 10 copies of that book in the National Library of Cambodia in Phnom Penh. And so then what happens is other people have come alongside me and said, "Mark, I want to help you. I want to help you be a positive influence to 10 million people, because I know I can't do that myself."
Yes.
And so I think what's happened is I had a mentor earlier in my career, when I was actually in my 20s. This mentor said to me, he said, "Mark, always have the attitude that you expect to give more than you receive." And
Mm.
when I have that attitude of giving, then and to be a positive influence, it's the world has become my mirror, from the standpoint of, because it reflects back to us what we put out. And I think that's a principle that applies to entrepreneurs everywhere. It's the vibe or the attitude that you have towards people is what's going to come back to you. So
Yes.
if you have the attitude of, I mean, just our mutual friend Tan Nguyen, her life slogan is "add value." And so everything that she thinks of, she's thinking, okay, how do I add value to my company? How do I add value to my supervisor? How do I add value to my team? How do I add value to my friends? Do you think that's going to hurt her career to add
Absolutely
value all those places? Absolutely not. And so because she has that, I mean, I was on a Zoom meeting with her earlier today, and I told her at the end, "Ton, you added value to me today." And she constantly does that. So when we have a what I call a life slogan that adds value to people, that makes a difference to other people's lives, contributes to other people's lives, then other people are going to join us, and we're going to be successful in doing that. Now, I don't, look at John. That's another reason to join, for me to join John Maxwell Leadership, because, okay, if I want to influence 10 million people, he's he sold 35 million books.
That's right.
So being in close proximity to people who have already been where I want to go. I want to become a better speaker. So what do? I align myself with Roddy Galbraith, who was also on your show not long ago.
Yes.
So I try to find out, okay, who has been where I want to go, and I try to spend time with people like that. Now, maybe I can't afford to be around everyone like that, but I can read their books.
That's right.
I can listen to their podcast. I can watch their YouTube.
Now see that, and that is a very simple solution for being able to, expand our in influence. And our own impact, even in our local communities. Because sometimes, especially as an entrepreneur, sometimes you're working all the time. It doesn't seem like you have time for much of anything. But with podcasts, we all have cell phones, and all we have to do is just tap into something on iTunes. They have a lot of free and excellent podcast on there. We could use Audible, so we can continue to just build ourselves up, even as we're physically moving.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Something else that it's really makes it, and these are like you said earlier, these are things that work anywhere. These are universal principles.
Yes.
And one of the things that, and you hear John Maxwell say this, you get what you praise. And so if you want more of the behavior, you praise that behavior. One of the things that I do, I just love doing this. I walk into a hotel, and the receptionist desk, they look up and they smile at you, and then I say to them, I said, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much for smiling. Your smile, your friendly smile makes me feel so welcome. I'm 9,000 miles away from home. You make me feel at home by your smile." And so the next 5 days, every time I walk by that front desk, I see smiles, and so that just happens, and that even when we're talking about it doesn't matter what we're talking about. I had a Vietnamese physician tell me one time. She said, "Oh, our office is so busy. I really don't have time to praise people." And I said, "Let me just say something to you. I'm going to give you a 30-second praising. How long does it take you to say to your receptionist or to your nurse, I really loved how you handled that patient that came in today. She came in upset and you really calmed her down." That was less than 1 minute. Now, when you praise somebody for having that kind of attitude, it encourages them to continue to have that attitude. One of the reasons we established the Encourage team to begin with was it was in the middle of COVID.
Oh yeah.
And we thought, oh my, people were struggling. There were lockdowns. I have friends in Australia. They couldn't even leave their house, and many people, I mean, they were struggling even to be able to have enough to eat. Many lost their jobs. I mean, look at the hotel industry and things like that. I mean, when nobody's traveling, nobody's
staying in a hotel. That's for sure.
Lots of people were being laid off, and so we thought, this is a time where people always need encouragement, but this is a time when people need more encouragement. And another famous John Maxwell quote is, "Encouragement is oxygen for the soul."
Oh yes.
And so everyone needs encouragement. So we thought, okay, well, how can we do more encouraging now? And so one of the things that I'm 72 years old, Anna. I still need encouragement. I go places and I ask people to raise their hand. But please raise your hand if you say, please don't encourage me. My encouragement bucket is full. I don't want my coworkers. I don't want anybody to encourage me anymore. Nobody ever raises their hand because we all need encouragement.
That's
so
right.
if we have that attitude of encouraging people, which I think is part of being a positive influence, is to encourage people, then that lifts them up. It's like, again, sorry to quote John again, but he says, everyone is an elevator. They're either taking people up or they're taking people down. So what do we want to do? We want to be the people that lift up other people and take them up. And then what happens? Who doesn't want to be around people that lift them up? That's who I want to be around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are just so on target with that. I have a team, and I'm always, and the other piece of it is to be authentic in your praise.
Absolutely.
And it's like some people, like when you've given them some kind of instruction or training about that, they just come up with something that's kind of off the wall. But you can always find something to praise people about and something to encourage someone if you're looking, if you're paying attention, if that is your mindset, or if that is the mission for your life, because those are the lenses in which you're looking at the world and you're looking at people. So I you're spot on with that, and more entrepreneurs, if they started encouraging, praising their customers, their clients, their employees, even their suppliers, they would always get a much better outcome, no matter what.
Right? Absolutely.
So, just so that we're getting almost at the end of our time, but there is just one more question that I have for you. And that is, what advice would you give people, entrepreneurs, businesses, or leadership, or even some of our leadership people? What kind of advice would you give them so that they can also make an impact in not only Southeast Asia, but also globally? Because the global markets right now, everybody, like you said, needs encouragement. And that's not just US, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia. It's everywhere in the world.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. I think that people need to think in terms of not just today and tomorrow, but for the long term, and it takes time to cultivate those relationships. Don't expect that the results are going to be immediate. And so I think on the front end, it takes more. It takes time and effort with few tangible results, even.
Yes.
But if you're willing to take that time, and then also if you have a relationship with someone that's already involved in doing what you want to do, ask for their help. It's like when, this is something else that just amazes me. Like I mentioned earlier, I need interpreters when I go places. I was in Nha Trang, Vietnam, and one of the places I was speaking at a company in the morning and scheduled to speak at the Nha Trang University to students that evening. In the morning, everything went fine at the company that I spoke at. And then I found out that the lady who was supposed to be my interpreter in the evening for 500 college students, she had an emergency, she couldn't come. And so I thought, oh, what do I do? And so I thought, I really hate to ask this other lady that just interpreted for me in the morning because she worked for that company.
Right.
I hate to ask her, but I wonder if she would be willing to do it. And so I went there and I said, Corinne, would you? My interpreter canceled for tonight. Would you be willing to help me? And she agreed to do it. And we got the first thing we got up on the stage. It's standing room only, 500 university students in this auditorium. And the first thing we get on the stage, and she says, "Let's take a selfie." And I'm thinking, oh, are you kidding me? But anyway, we took a selfie, and then after it was over, she did a great job. After it was over, she said to me, she said, being up there on that stage with you was a dream come true for me.
Wow.
She said, I went to Notre Dame University. A few years ago, I would have been one of the people out in the audience. But it was a dream come true to be up there on the stage with you tonight, speaking to those kids. And so what it reminded me of, it's like when we ask people for help, it adds value to them. It tells them that we trust them. It tells them that we value what their expertise and experience. So that's one of the other things that I think it's like, and again, John says, he has this question, who do you know that I should know?
Yes.
And so that's one of the things that who can help, who do I know that can help me get to where I want to go? So I think, so take the time, cultivate the relationships. It takes time and effort. It doesn't happen overnight.
And that's it. We're in the, the popcorn, everything is quick, microwave,
Yeah.
air
Yeah.
fryer.
That's right.
Society. So that, so I really do appreciate your, sharing that with us, that we need to take the time to build relationships. Everyone is not going to be an instant friend, but if we take the time and we're committed to having it happen, it will.
And you mentioned authenticity. We're not perfect. We shouldn't act like we are. And we need to acknowledge that we need help and support from other people.
That is so true. So, Mark, this has been wonderful. We need to wrap up this exciting edition of the Urban Entrepreneur Show. Um, how can people reach out to you if they want to find out more about what you're doing with the Encourage team, or just talk with you about your experiences in Southeast Asia and perhaps even the opportunities that are available there?
Sure. Well, theencourageteam.com is easy to reach out to us there. Also, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. So I think right now I have close to 4,000 Facebook friends. 3,000 of them are from Southeast Asia.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I just want to thank you again, Mark Hemingway from the Encourage team, for being here with us this evening and sharing your experiences about how to create global connections and also mastering leadership beyond our borders.
Thank you, Anna.
So as we wrap up this exciting episode of the Urban Entrepreneur Show, I just want to thank you, our listening audience, and those that are viewing either online right now or will view the replay. For just being with us week after week as we really look to bring people to you that will not only inspire you to take action, but also expand your awareness of what's possible for entrepreneurs in cities everywhere in the world. So today's show was brought to you by the sponsor, Thrive Leadership Institute. You can find out more about Thrive Leadership Institute by going to thriveleadershipinstitute.com. If you want to reach out to me, you can always go to my new website, which is Anna D. Banks, without the period, AnnaDbanks.com. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs that have an exciting story to share and who want to be able to share that with others, then please consider joining us as a guest on the Urban Entrepreneur Show, because we're all about sharing wisdom and experiences that inspire. Now, you can find out more about the Urban Entrepreneur Show by going to theurbanentrepreneurshow.com. And there you'll be able to sign up to be a guest and to find out more information about being a guest on the show. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again to Mark Hemingway. And that's a sign of love and hearts from Cambodia. So thank you so much, Mark. We really appreciate your taking the time to be with us this evening.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
All right, my friends, we will see you on the next time. And until then, bye-bye for now.